Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com. And I get often asked this question often: what's up with HAARP? Where is it? Is it still doing its thing? What is HAARP? A lot of people don't even understand what HAARP is, what it does, where it came from, what happened to it after the military said they weren't going to use it anymore. It's time to get through that in an entire video. So we're going to go into some presentations, some maps, and the entire history and the surprising start of that history, like a Project HAARP in the 1950s. Buckle your seatbelts. This is going to be a crazy one. If you're new and you're watching this in Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, or somebody's downloaded this video, because I make all my videos Creative Commons, please come over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, just type the word ClimateViewer in, no spaces, and you might find my channel. And you can always support my work on connect.climateviewer.com. Links are in the details, and away we go. So, I'm going to start with, welcome chat. We're going to start with climateviewer.com/HAARP. Like I said, all of these are already in the details. But you know what? I'm going to copy pasta, for the people in chat, the good people who are live with us right now. So this is where we're going to start. And this page, I originally created it back in 2012. I've updated it as recent as 2018. I'm currently redoing all of climateviewer.com. So there's going to be a brand new website soon. That being said, up here at the top, you're going to see geoengineering, pollution, privacy, and propaganda. That's generally what I talk about. And under the geoengineering category, if you go to it, geoengineering and weather modification exposed, you'll see that there are subcategories like HAARP and the sky heaters and the dreaded C word, not to be said on YouTube without getting the big C word flag. But anyway, you go right here to HAARP and the sky heaters. It's at climateviewer.com/HAARP, and it's basically a breakdown of the basics. And I like to have these fact pages, frequently asked questions pages. You know, what is an ionospheric heater? Well, let's start there, because most people don't understand what HAARP is or how it works or why. A ionospheric heater is a powerful high frequency transmitter. In the case of HAARP's ionospheric research instrument, it's 2.8 to 10 megahertz. So it uses HF, high frequency, to create ELF, extremely low frequency, and VLF, and ultra low frequency, ULF, by heating a portion of the sky. So powerful high frequency transmitter that induces controlled temporary modification to electron temperature at a desired altitude. So it actually is cooking a portion of the sky and heating it up, and it's temporary. It's while the transmitter's on, and that's what's going on there. So the question remains, well, you know, why do this? What's the purpose? We're going to get into all of that very quickly. So I'm not going to read you the entire fact. It's there for a reason. Why heat the ionosphere? Several different reasons. I go into all of these reasons in great detail in a PowerPoint presentation that I did. You're going to see that as well. But let's go look, you know, at ClimateViewer 3D. Now, this map is also in the details right now. I'm going to paste it in chat for everybody. For those who don't know, I have a ultra wide screen on the other side of my head over here. So I have to like literally lean over to get to it. But there we go. So you guys can check that map out. I wonder if YouTube's censoring the links. Nope. Seemed to work just fine for me just now. All right. So HAARP is here in Alaska, specifically here. But what most people don't realize is the actual high frequency active auroral research program is a combination of all these things here, including the high latitude monitoring system, which is right here at Elmendorf Air Force Base, high latitude monitoring station, all of these different ionosigns that are in a row here. It's a monitoring network. And then the Poker Flat rocket range, basically. So Poker Flat is where they launch the rockets for the chemicals. And, you know, I've highlighted this in that's not it. That's not it. That's it. In my, you know, infographic here, where you can see a sounding rocket spraying chemicals like barium, trimethyl aluminum, cesium, lithium, these types of chemicals. They spray them from sounding rockets and satellites to put materials into the upper atmospheric chemical release, and then they cook them. And the reason why is because air cannot be detected by a microwave or radar, and neither can the Van Allen belts or, you know, the outer space medium. So they have to dump a chemical in there to be able to see it. It's like a tracer. It's like when you go to the doctor and they want to find all the veins, the real small veins in your body. They will put barium in your body and then use, you know, different either CAT scans or whatever, MRIs, to be able to see that stuff. So it makes the invisible visible. Sue, shut up. Flat Earth retards in chat. Go find another video to troll. Space is real. Space is there. Don't make me bring up the video of the moron who tried to prove that the Earth is flat by creating a rocket to go to space and then killed himself. I'm gonna be honest when I say I laughed. I literally laughed. I know it's not cool for most people to laugh at the death of an individual, but you gotta be dumb AF to think that you can build a rocket in your backyard and then go to space. So I've never been to space. You've never been to space. Flat earthers, full retard, shut up. I'm not having that shit today. Adults are in the room talking about a serious issue. It's called HAARP. This video is about HAARP. So please direct your questions and comments towards HAARPy things, or shut the fuck up. Thank you. Love you, mean it. The flat earthers, they just made me so happy. So like I said, this is the Poker Flat research range where they launch the rockets that they actually do the chemical modification with. And it is right above HAARP, as you can see here. So they will fire these rockets. They will dump chemicals in space and cook them. And that's all I'm going to say about that for right now. While ignoring, what's funny is you flattards are going to get me so triggered that I'm going to call my mods to literally just start banning you, so that I'm not distracted and I don't have to insult you, because you're an insult to the intelligence of people on the planet. There is not a single flat earther out there that can prove that the earth is flat, and proving the earth is round is very easy. You guys are so dumb. People so stupid, people so dumb. Tom McDonald. Anyway, I personally believe that flat earth was reinvigorated because I made a map of all the NSA facilities, and it's specifically to target my design here, because I'm such an egomaniac that the flatards come out every time I bring out my map so that they can go, no, Jim, none of that's real. There's no satellites. There's no round ball. There is no ionospheric heating because there's no ionosphere. Nothing to see here. The most important thing in the world is that the world is flat. Jesus H. Hockey sticks. Bruh. Yeah, it took a turn real quick. That's so true. George Orwell. I love your name. So what are the major ionospheric heaters of the world? Obviously HAARP. Most people have heard of that. The big one in use right now is in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. It's in that big dome. You can actually see the antennas now on satellite. You couldn't see that before. Nice little update there. You can see the image that I created before they had that right here. And basically, these are the antennas. That's a person. They're inside the dome. So it's not the whole dome. The dome is just a focusing antenna. The actual antenna are the 5 large antennas. And by large, you can see how large here, right there. And that's at the bottom of the thing. Effective radiated power, 200 million watts or 200 megawatts. We're in front of the little thing. 6 cross dipole antennas, 14.5 meters, and a 3 that are 25 meters tall. So these are some pretty big antennas. But Arecibo, Puerto Rico is actually in a big dome. I don't know if you guys have ever actually seen this, but you can go to ClimateViewer 3D, come down here to the bottom, click on 3D terrain, because the world is not only not flat, it is very bumpy, as we can see here. Down in this dome, that's where the Arecibo radio telescope is. And we'll move on to the next one. So let me unlock that, bounce back out. And we have one down here in Jicamarca, Peru. Big pictures of it right there. I'll blow that up a little bit more. 4.5 million watts. In fact, this one is stronger in power, but probably not in effective radiated power than HAARP, because it's just brute force power. 4.5 million watts going into it. HAARP 3.6 million watts. And this is on 49.92 megahertz. HAARP is 2.8 to 10 megahertz. You could stretch it a little bit from there. But the thing is, with HAARP, the effective radiated power is upwards of 5 gigawatts. So billion watts or gigawatts. Like in Back to the Future, when the doctor said we need 1.21 gigawatts to go back into the future. And that was a lightning bolt. So literally we're talking 5 gigawatts, like 5 damn lightning bolts worth of power coming out of HAARP. That's some serious antenna right there. The other big ones on the planet over here, big historic one right here, the Sura ionospheric heating facility in Russia. That's an old timer, one of the OGs. Up here in Tromsø, which is in Norway, as you can see here, and you scroll on down. This is the Tromsø array. It's actually 3 separate ionospheric heaters. So as we can see, there's a big one here, the square. There's another one here, and there's another one here. If you actually click on this, you can see where I actually created an overlay of what those are from a PDF I found. And you can see that this array is at 5.5 to 8 megahertz, 5.5 to 8 megahertz, and 3.85 to 5.65 megahertz. All of these are separate arrays. There's 3 separate ionospheric heaters there. And they are now expanding this to what's called EISCAT 3D, which will have an effective radiated power of 100 gigawatts or gigawatts, making it far superior and in the realm of what Bernard Eastlund was talking about when he said we need 100 gigawatts to control the weather. Over here in India, you've got the NMRF, or National MST Radar Facility. Pretty crazy photo there of glowing on the field, and these are these Yagi antenna. But pretty interesting looking facility. You scroll down, that's it there in a field, big square, lots of antennas. You've seen it before. It looks pretty similar. Moving along over here in Japan, I think by far the coolest looking ionospheric heater is the Shigaraki MU Observatory. And it's actually VHF. It's not really that powerful, but damn, it looks cool. I mean, that's some space age looking beehive design. Again, similar to Arecibo in that it is in a bowl that kind of creates a, a reflector, a beam focuser. So interesting facility, huge photo of it right here. We'll go over to that real quick, and you can see that here. I'm opening the little image is what I just realized. And I don't want to do that. What I want to do is actually click it, and then you get the big picture. So you can actually see the sharp one. So this is what it actually looks like. And by big, I mean damn big picture. On over here. That's what it looks like. So interesting facility. Those are the major ionospheric heaters. It's like 7 or 8 of them. Great Scott, what the hell is a gigawatt? Bob, you killing me, bro. Yeah, I know, right? 1 billion watts. 1 billion watts. But so everybody gets hung up on this, and they're like, well, everything's an ionospheric heater. But I want to point out the differences. So these are specifically what I would call an ionospheric heater by the definition of what they are. And even I'm stretching it with this one because this is really an MST radar. And so is the one in India is an MST radar. So they're really like middle and upper atmosphere radars. Not so much specifically an ionospheric heater. So the point is there's really only 1, 2, 3, 4 on the planet that really have the power and focusing capability of being considered a true ionospheric heater. However, then you have other things called incoherent scatter radars, and you have missile defense radars, and all of these have the power and capacity to be considered ionospheric heaters as well, and have been used in multiple ionospheric heater experiments. So they're all over the place, like the Kharkov incoherent scatter radar, which is 2.5 million watts, which is in where? Ukraine. You think Putin misses his ionospheric heater that's right here outside of Kharkiv in Ukraine? I think so. Because they like to have these things, and they don't want other people to have these things. And they're all over the planet. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of these here, and then I've got all the missile defense radars. We won't get into all that, because guess what? All of that's already linked, and you can see all of the different things here, like the Super Dual Auroral Radar Network, Super Darn, the IceCat Incoherent Scatter Radars, and then the blue ones are the other incoherent scatter radars. There's light blue for historic ones, which have been destroyed. They just happen to be part of history. And then black is missile defense radars, which are really freaking powerful. In some cases, dwarfing the power of HAARP. Lasers and directed energy weapons are the little yellow laser beams. Ionosons, they're used for diagnosing modifications of the ionosphere. It's like ping pong. They actually send a signal up, it reflects off the sky, comes back down, and they could tell what the total electron count and all the little things they do to see what's going on in the ionosphere before and after modification. And then ELF and VLF transmitters worldwide, which are often confused with ionospheric heaters. These directly transmit extremely low frequency waves and ultra low frequency waves. So they're actually directly sending out those signals, usually for submarine communication, naval communication. And of course, to those who, want to go there for mind control, for public health reasons. But, of course, the military says we're talking to submarines because high frequency doesn't penetrate water well, but ultra low and extremely low and very low frequency, ELF, BLF, ULF, they penetrate stone and bone and can reach the bottom of the ocean. That's why it's important here. So I think we've talked enough about, what an ionospheric heater is, where they are. We've gone over the map. Let's hit some history time because it's that time. So we're going to go over here and I'm going to flip over to weathermodificationhistory.com. If you've never been here before and you're a first timer, go to weathermodificationhistory.com. You can check out the timeline, people, patents, programs, laws, our news vault that has over 800 newspapers. Check out all 10 technologies to control the weather today. You can see the map that I'm linked in chat right there with weather modification projects worldwide. But down here at the bottom are all of the PowerPoint presentations I've done. And it's important for people to understand this, that you can see these all here and you can download the PowerPoint presentation or, go to the actual website or just simply watch the video right here. Just by clicking that'll load the video at first, click it again to hit play. So I'm not actually pulling anything from YouTube because I don't want tracking everybody that comes to my freaking website because screw Google. So that's why that's there. But you can go to all the PowerPoint presentations I've done. These summarize all of the topics I talk about when it comes to weather control, geoengineering, space weather modification. And one of them is ionospheric heaters, space weather control, and geophysical warfare. And I had this vetted by Chris Fallon, who is director of HAARP. I sent it to him. And, Chad's trying to trigger me again. Now they're bringing up the D word. Bruh, I'm going to stop making live videos because I get triggered so easily. Damn it. Am I a snowflake? No, I'm not. Not a snowflake. Anyway, moving along. So let's get into those things. So over here on the Ionospheric Heater Archive, we're going to start even before this because I don't have this one in here, and I'm surprised I don't because I actually have it classified as upper atmospheric chemical release. But all of these are available on the timeline. You can go to the interactive timeline. I'm sending you the direct link that goes just to ionospheric heaters. Link is now in chat. And this is the history starting with the Russian woodpecker, moving on to how HAARP was created, and so on and so forth. We're going to go through that right now. So, clicking on this, clicking on that. Back in June of 1965, there was actually a HAARP project. It just didn't have two A's. It had HAARP, Project High Altitude Research Program. Instead of High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, it was High Altitude Research Program, the HAARP cannon to launch chemicals into space. And, I've got some great photographs of this here, direct from the military website. And this is what the cannon looked like. They had a 5-inch and a 16-inch version of the gun. The Martlet 2Cs without the Sabo rounds on it. These are the rockets that they fired to put cesium, barium, and all these other chemicals into space. Here is a HAARP 5.1 5-inch projectile with center Sabo. Right there's the Sabo in the center. These are the altitudes and the apogees of the actual firing of these the HAARP cannon. And you can see with the 5-inch gun, it would the velocity of 5,400 feet per second up to 250,000 feet with a 23-pound munition, and all the way up to the 16-inch gun at 7,100 feet per second. And they could fire that joker to literally 590,000 feet with a 185-pound munition. What's up, Chinook? How you doing? I'm early a day. No, this isn't actually the live chat for Sunday. I'm making up for the fact that I wasn't here for Throwback Thursday, and we're talking about HAARP history and trying to ignore the flat earthers in chat. I'm easily distracted, but yes, that's what we're doing. So this HAARP gun was in 1965. Here's a farmer looking at a hole in the ground where the rocket came back down. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's just damn. And this is from Army Research and Development. And they actually show moving the big guns for research poses logistics problems. Operation HAARP, utilizing big guns for research, earns U.S. Army Canadian goodwill for assistance. And this is from, where's the date? August 1962. Big surprise. The HAARP cannon is still, I believe it's at Kirtland Air Force Base right now. I can actually show you that on the map, but this video is already going to be long enough. But yeah, I found the HAARP cannon and it's still together, and it is at the Kirtland Air Force Base, secret portion of the base. Pretty interesting stuff. So moving along. The Russian woodpecker Chernobyl meltdown and ionospheric heating over the United States, 1983 through 1986. Holy shit, I did like an hour and a half on just this topic before, but it goes like this. In popular communications, 1984 is extremely low frequency, able to manipulate the weather, has a technique devised by Tesla permitted the Soviets to alter the world's weather. If you have not read this, you really need to read this article. And I have the entire article here so you can read it all. Soviet superpower tests burned hole in the ionosphere. From the Monitoring Times magazine in February 2001. And this is talking about back in like 1976, the year I was born. So this goes way back. The Russians were way ahead of us at like the Sura ionospheric heater I mentioned earlier. The Russians were way ahead of us on this technology because they took Tesla very seriously. And they were microwaving the Moscow signal. They were microwaving our, embassy in Moscow. Right now we have Havana syndrome. They're microwaving the embassy in Cuba, happening in China. CIA operatives are complaining about getting all of this technology is linked together. So we won't get into the rest of this. Know it's there. Links are in the details. Check it out. Stanford Star Lab, new concepts in ionospheric modification, controlling the ionosphere. And they go into here, and thus no effort was directed towards work on ionospheric modification by means of high-powered ground-based incoherent scatter radars or by other well-established methods such as barium or other similar chemical releases in the ionosphere. Let me go back and preface that. We should point out that the study was one of new concepts in ionospheric modification based on our electron beam work. Electron beams, like beam aboard a rocket, the Bear project, and all of that stuff is, can be found under upper atmospheric chemical release. If you guys really want to get into chemtrails from space, dig into that. I'll throw it in the chat. It's not in the details, especially for you. And you can see everything like Project Firefly, chemical releases in space, Project High Water, plasma seeding, artificial strontium and barium clouds in the upper atmosphere, the HAARP cannon, and the list goes on. Project Cameo, barium cloud over Alaska, Project Waterhole, the beam experiment aboard a rocket. That's what they were talking about there, about charged particle beams. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to where we were. So Stanford Star Labs comes up with new ideas for this. And this leads to the military going international treaties and active experiments in space. Because as everybody knows, there is a international ban on weather warfare. So the military always is, mentioning this. Because of the Environmental Modification Convention of 1978, which happened as a result of Operation Popeye and weather warfare over Vietnam. So they specifically say international treaties and active experiments in space, and plan these experiments. Great care must be exerted so that they produce no widespread, long-lasting, or severe effects on the environment, which are the exact words used in the Environmental Modification Convention. So the military is not allowed to do any kind of widespread, long-lasting, or severe effects on the environment with their modifications. An ability to reduce trapped radiation would increase orbit selection options for future space-based surveillance system. And this is called radiation belt remediation. The idea that if we had a Carrington event, if Rocket Man over in North Korea decided to set off a high altitude electromagnetic pulse, that places like HAARP could quickly suck that radiation out of space and dump it on the poles. And that's called radiation belt remediation. Or, like with a big solar flare, that they could somehow save Earth by sucking it out, and that would create artificial aurora, like the aurora borealis or the aurora australis. But anyway, December 13th, 1989 through February 12th, 1990, the HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, Joint Services Programs, Plans, and Activities. And all of this was initially put out by Wired Magazine, is where I first got this. But you can actually see the original documentation here from the Air Force Geophysics Lab and the Navy Office of Naval Research, February 1990. How they came up with the plans. They had a workshop on ionospheric modification and generation of extremely low frequency in January 11th, 1990. Here are all of the attendees. I want to point out Dr. Dennis Papadopoulos, especially because, if you do any research on HAARP, you're going to see his name repeatedly. The guy's all over it, all the way up into the end when we start talking about HAARP on boats. But I don't want to spoil the end of the video. And their entire timeline here. So yeah, the military came up with the idea. They talked about the treaties and how that would affect everything. But, you know, we talked about Arecibo on Puerto Rico. You remember this little guy right here? So down here in Arecibo, Puerto Rico, this guy, they were already doing ionospheric heaters, heating experiments before they created the Arecibo Observatory Enhanced High Frequency Heating Instrument, because a hurricane came along and destroyed the damn thing. So they had to make a new one. So where were we? We were right here. And this is the Combined Release and Radiation Effects Satellite, CRES, and the Arecibo Ionospheric Heater. July 1990 through 1993. This is before HAARP was invented. So what is the Combined Release Rocket Experiment and Radiation Effects Satellite? Well, they were dumping things like strontium, barium, calcium, lithium, barium, sulfur hexafluoride, the banned greenhouse gas killer, ozone killer. Yeah, they were just spraying it in the sky. Barium, and sulfur hexafluoride there. So these are all of the different ones that were listed in documentation that I could find. But you can see all of that right here. Lists on all of that. Good references. You'll see them. You know, you can read all about it. But this is basically where it comes from. Multiple instrument studies of chemical releases and heating at Arecibo from the Phillips Laboratory at the Air Force Geophysics Directorate in Hanscom Air Force Base, Massachusetts. And this was from 1995 when it was published. So I read through this entire thing. This is the actual logo for the CRES satellite. That's what the satellite looked like. And we all just saw what the ionospheric heater in Puerto Rico looks like. So Arecibo working with a satellite. Cue the picture. Number 3, satellites releasing barium, strontium, all these chemicals in space being heated by, number 1, ionospheric heater at Arecibo. Back to the story. So we're going to move on and a little quicker now. Triggering the high frequency breakdown of the atmosphere by barium release. And you can see right here that's the thing. And they talk about it right here. Oh, there's Papadopoulos. A detailed analysis of mesospheric diagnostics using barium injection in conjunction with the HAARP ionospheric heater currently under development will publish elsewhere. Who paid for this? We'd like to thank the National Science Foundation grant and the Office of Naval Research grant for paying for this. Dennis Papadopoulos grabbing up that gov money to put chemtrails in space, heat them with microwave. Good times, good times. FOIA reveals U.S. Air Force paper Counterforce Weather Control from Spacecast 2020. Now, most people have heard of Air Force 2025. Most people have not heard about this one. And Spacecast 2020 was about domination of space. And it really goes into details, much of which is still redacted to this day. Counterforce Weather Control. And you see it says secret at the top secret at the top. Counterforce Weather Control subject and problem statement. What's the problem here? And you can see even redacted by, and the name of the person who redacted it is redacted. This thing has so many redactions and it's just crazy that it's still redacted today. But what do they say they want to do? Desired end state is limited only by the imagination. For example, envision the capability to accomplish the following objective. Bore a hole through a cloud to allow unrestricted surveillance of an enemy target. See Figure 1. Create an atmospheric event over an enemy airfield so that as to ground all their aircraft, i.e. thick fog or severe thunderstorm. Create a weather pattern that obscures your military movement from the enemy, i.e. chemtrails, that the military would intentionally make cloud cover to obscure military movement from the enemy, or block out spy satellites in space. Now, I know that you guys have heard a whole lot of different theories on why chemtrails. I'm about to show you the U.S. military saying in the 1990s exactly why they do that. And you could take it with a grain of salt, or you can go, this is people saying why. And these are the facts. Weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025 was a think piece, is what all the debunkers will say. It's just a think piece, it was for college students to write papers about what possibly could happen in the future. This report contains fictional representations of a future situation scenarios. Any similarities to real people or events other than those specifically cited are unintentional and for the purposes of illustration only. But regardless, it's pretty interesting that they have these reasons, okay? Precipitation enhancement, storm enhancement, precipitation denial, space weather, which is what we're talking about here today. Disable communication radar, disable destroy space assets, fry some damn satellites. What does my shirt say? This is specifically for the flat earthers. I used to be a people person, then people ruined it. They really did. Wiggle that toe. OnlyFans, baby. OnlyFans. Oh, you guys kill me. Fog and cloud removal. Deny concealment, increase vulnerability to PGM Reese. Detect hostile weather activities. Actually know when other people are screwing with the weather. Space weather, improve communication reliability, intercept enemy transmission, revitalize space assets. Like literally charge up satellites in space. Seriously. Fog and cloud generation. This is in Air Force 2025. This is the second time it's mentioned. Increase concealment. Fog and cloud removal. Maintain airfield operations and enhance PGM effectiveness. Okay. Got to be a coincidence, right? So they go on down here, and I've got all the original references up. They do talk about HAARP, but I just want to point this out. They talk about what's available today, now, which is in 1995 and 1996. What's available in the future? So currently available, the Global Weather Network, sensors, comp mod, which is computer modeling, communications, chemicals, ADV, which is aerospace delivery vehicles, UAVs, planes, blimps, all that stuff. STAR, DE. Anyone want to take a guess at what DE is? Directed energy. Capable, 1995-96. AIM, artificial ionospheric mirrors. Created by things like HAARP. Artificial ionospheric mirrors, 1995, capable. SC, smart clouds using nanotechnology, available, 1995-96. 2005, another STAR. CBD, and no, they're not talking about cannabinoid oil. They're talking about carbon black dust. Now, I've gone on about ad nauseum about carbon black dust and chemtrails and how nobody talks about this because it's actually factually based. It's the military says this is what they're going to use. They were using carbon black dust in 1958 to create clouds. They're using it today to create clouds and everything else. Don't believe me? More proof in your face. So much proof that even Mick West of chemtrail debunking fame had to eat crow when I showed him this. But anyway, there's a whole lot of other stuff here, like, you know, the weather analysis and modification system for weather, you know, controlling the globe's weather. Most people haven't read all this stuff, so I went and I made some infographics out of it. Shielded base application to neutralizers could be accomplished via aerosol dispersion in quantities sufficient enough to form a suppression cloud or fog over the affected area. This is from Aerospace Sanctuary 2025, Shrinking the Bullseye. Nobody reads things anymore, so I have to do all this stuff. Everybody only talks about owning the weather in 2025. There were multiple documents here, like this one. Space Operations Through the Looking Glass, Global Area Strike System. The requirement for a global all-weather strike capability might be met by using different laser wavelength to burn a hole through clouds, smoke, or aerosols using the same mirror or different one, or by employing alternative weather control techniques before striking for effect. Now, that was just mentioned in Spacecast 2020. In case you've already forgotten, boring a hole in clouds, laser hole boring. Again, in the weather technologies, it's number 4, lasers, like laser hole boring. Most people don't know about these things, so that's why we're bringing them up. And then UAV constellations, link at the bottom where I actually pulled this up, provide precise control for aerosol dispersal, allow controlled suspension of airborne particles, enable weather control over localized area, provide precise control for electromagnetic or other field generation. That's a mouthful. Attack microbots. This is from 2025 operational analysis. Another one nobody read. Attack microbots, sensor microbots, various deployment approaches are possible, including dispersal as an aerosol, transportation by a larger platform, and full flying, crawling autonomy. Attack robots, go! Form up Voltron, kick some ass, take some names, change the weather, all the things. So, like I said, the debunkers out there say Air Force 2025 was just a think piece. This is where that think piece, that rubber met the road. In 1995 and 96, Owning the Weather in 2025 was written. Air Force 2025 occurred. In 1997, it was presented to the military by a military official, to the Air Force and the Army, and nobody, and I mean nobody, anywhere talks about this. Last thing, this was from the Air Force 2025 documents. Prior to the attack, which is coordinated and forecasted weather conditions, the UAVs begin cloud generation and seeding operation. Unmanned aerial vehicles disperse a cirrus cloud shield. You see this. Cirrus shield. To deny enemy visual and infrared surveillance. Simultaneously, microwave heaters, ionospheric heaters, microwave heaters create localized scintillation to disrupt active sensing via synthetic aperture radar systems such as commercially available Canadian search and rescue satellite aided tracking SARSAT that will be widely available in 2025. Other cloud seeding operations cause a developing thunderstorm to intensify over a target, severely limiting the enemy's capability to defend. The weather force strike something. It's weather force strike something. Monitors the entire operation in real time and notes the successful completion of another very important but routine weather modification mission. This scenario may seem far-fetched, but by 2025, it is within the realm of possibility. Facts. And we're already there. I mean, they didn't even have to wait to 2025. Hey, Black Koi, I appreciate the super chat there, brother, man. Thank you. Or sister. I won't send you. I don't want to misgender anybody. Because you know, it's a black koi. I think koi fish are beautiful. But anyway, so like I said, rubber meets the road in 1997 when the Test Technology Symposium 97 weather modification occurred, and Dr. Arnold Barnes Jr. from the United States Air Force Phillips Laboratory gave a presentation called Session B Advanced Weapon Instrumentation Technologies, where he discussed making owning the weather in 2025 a reality. This was presented at the Johns Hopkins University and Applied Physics Laboratory. Note that HAARP is on page 6. And these are, straight from them. The UN Convention on the Prohibition of Military or any other hostile use of environmental modification, also known as the Environmental Modification Accountability Act, that thing, which went into effect October 5th, 1978, applies only to, I said, widespread, long-lasting, or severe environmental modifications. Local non-permanent changes such as precipitation enhancement, hail suppression, since aren't affected by that. Since 1978, the official Air Force position has been that weather modification had little utility or military payoff as a weapon of war. The official Air Force position needs to be reevaluated. Dr. Arnold Barnes Jr., United States Air Force Phillips Lab. The official Air Force position needs to be reevaluated because, in light of the 19 years of scientific advances, in light of the advanced weapon systems which are more environmentally sensitive, to prepare against technological surprise. Notes Air University Spacecast 2020 contains a section called Counterforce Weather Control, and he goes into that. Atmospheric scientists have pursued terrestrial weather modification in earnest since the 1940s, but have made little progress because of scientific, legal, or social concerns, as well as concerns certain controls at various government levels. Using environmental modification techniques to destroy, damage, or injure other states are prohibited. However, space presents us with a new arena. Technology provides new opportunities, and our conception of future capabilities compels the re-examination of this sensitive and potential risky topic. Can anybody say Space Force? Really? But anyway, so I have the entire original documentation here. You can see this originally came from, and I have the archive.org, dtc.army.mil/TTS/1997/proceed/abarnes.html. Now, this came straight from a military weapons, a military website. It was deleted from the internet. I reinvigorated it. What is a woman? Bro, Black Koi, you just cracked me up. So for those who don't know, go watch Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? Now, I'm dying laughing inside that you literally just said, what is a woman? Because I know where you're going with it. And yes, we literally just watched that last night. I'm going to have my children watch it when they get home today. What is a Woman by Matt Walsh? It's on the Daily Wire. Yeah, you got to pay to sign up and everything. I have never signed up for the Daily Wire. I did specifically to watch this. It was worth every penny. Oh my God, that was freaking hilarious. Because apparently most people can't define what a woman is. So how the hell could they define what an ionospheric heater is? Or do they even give a damn what an ionospheric heater is? I mean, anyway, great aside, great commentary. Love my chat. Loved you, chat. You guys are the bestest. Except you flat earthers when you come in here with your trolling and stupidity. Get them, Jim. So what are we talking about here? Let's take a look. So this is the actual PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to get us out of the way just for this, okay? This is the actual documentation, his PowerPoint presentation taken directly from it. And this looks very similar to what? Air Force 2025. What do we have here? Let's take a look. Does that look like that? And potential weather modification capabilities, Air Force 2025. This is him now presenting it at a Joint Army Air Force, thing. And it's all the same. I don't need to read it all to you. It's all the same. Talks about the treaty issues, and this is what I read you earlier. I had it typed out. And then he goes on to talk about HAARP and how it could be used, just like they did in the Air Force 2025 documents. Cloud seeding using carbon black. What was on the slide? Use carbon black dust by 2005. The star was technologies to be developed by the Department of Defense. Okay? Increase precipitation, decrease precipitation. Not going to bore you with that. Increase cirrus cloud cover. That's chemtrails! That's fucking chemtrails! That's cirrus cloud cover for military purposes! Dr. Arnold Barnes, Phillips Lab. Fuck! Okay, now that I got that out of my system, increase cirrus cloud cover. Why do the military say they want to make chemtrails, make cirrus clouds? Hashtag cirrus clouds matter. Why does the military say they want to do it? Deny visual satellite or high altitude reconnaissance to block out spy satellites in space. Riddle me this, flat fucking earthers. Why would they need to block out spy satellites if there are no spy satellites? What, they're all U-2 spy planes? China shooting laser beams at our spy planes, not satellites? People so stupid. Decrease light level for nighttime operations. This one took me by surprise. So think about this. You're in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom, shotgun on, all that shit. They fly over the battlefield and they block out the moon. We have night vision goggles. They don't. Create clouds, block out moonlight, put on night vision goggles. They don't have night vision goggles. This is why the military says they want to create chemtrails. And how do they say they want to do it? Using carbon black dust. Using carbon black Dust! Not all the other bullshit you hear everywhere else. I have been saying this for 10 fucking years. And there is not a single other place on YouTube or anywhere else that talks about this. This is as smoking gun as you can get. Don't believe me? I actually have a FOIA as well on this. And I don't, did I skip it? I mean, no, that's not it. Where's my other FOIAs at? Where's my FOIA? FOIA. I'll click that. Freedom of Information Act request. And this is it. Guess who it is? FOIA reveals U.S. Air Force Geophysics Directorate weather modification intentions. And what is it? Oh, look. Holy shit. It's the Phillips Laboratory. Title: Weather modification using carbon black dusts. Solar heating of carbon dust could be deployed on theater scale to achieve precipitation enhancement, to create cirrus clouds, and to dissipate fog and low clouds. Blah, blah, blah. Project plan. Model it, 96. Engineer it, 97. Ground-based field trials, 99. Completed, 1999. Airborne test and evaluation, 2001. Engineering design, airborne carbon black delivery system by 2003. Operational capability, 2004. Shit, that's a year before the 2005 they had in Air Force 2025. What happened to Weather War 101? He freaking disappeared. And that happened shortly after. This could be a long ass video. That shortly happened after a email chain in which we had a pretty hefty exchange. And in this email chain were people like, an aside, ash, yes, carbon black dust. I go into this. That's why I said, if you guys want to know more about this, go to weathermodificationhistory.com. And at the bottom is must-see presentations, carbon black dust. Carbon black dust, the chemtrail secret for weather warfare, geoengineering, and ozone destruction. You can watch the video if you're lazy, or you can, if you're a little more interested, you can download the PowerPoint presentation yourself. This is a big-ass PDF right here. And you can learn all about it because I put a lot of freaking work into this. Carbon black dust versus soot. What's the difference? Military application versus commercial pollution. Soot and cloud seeding filled with metals. All that ozone destruction stuff. Photophoretic levitation. All the things that have done. Harry Wexler on rocket exhaust. And steering hurricanes with, carbon black dust. How the United States Navy in 1958 was using what? Carbon black dust. This is Dr. Florence Van Straten in 1958. We dropped 1.5 pound dry packages of carbon black. We produced single clouds with each drop. Since 1958, they've been making chemtrails with carbon black dust. So, if you want to read all that stuff, please go to weathermodificationhistory.com. Check out each of these. The climate changes and water wars, technocracy, geoengineering, and replacing the water cycle, ionospheric heaters, weaponizing nature. This is the one you really want to start on because it goes through everything. And I do mean everything. It's in the JP8. You are correct. So let's get back to where we were, and then I'll answer that question. So, increased cirrus cloud cover using carbon black dust. They did it in 1958. It's mentioned in Air Force 2025, owning the weather in 2025. Dr. Arnold Barnes is mentioning it in a PowerPoint presentation to the U.S. Air Force and the Army jointly. And he's saying the exact same thing that's been said in the FOIA, in the past, in newspapers. All this stuff is provable beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I know that it seems like we've gotten away from HAARP. This is all related. This is all related. But real quickly, I will address the question in chat. So, what happened with Weather War 101? In this email was, and I'm kind of telling some inside, politics, let's put it that way. There was myself, Weather War 101, Michael Murphy, Alana Freeland, what's that doctor dude's name? I could pull the email up. I really should. Oh, but that's really that's getting kind of a gray area. Anyway, in it, basically Weather War 101 started chastising the entire group of all of these different people. Dane Wigington was in there, in the email chain. And there was a series of emails before he jumped in and he basically went on the attack. Why does nobody talk about wet surface air coolers? And I said, okay, guys, I will handle this. Let me handle this. Now, we've known each other for 7 years, Mr. Weather War 101, person who does not have a name, face, voice, address. I don't know who the fuck you are. But when you started out, you were literally stealing my maps. And you can go back to the beginning of Weather War 101's channel and see my maps, my radar dots, and all that stuff. He had them on the screen. Dutch Sense did the same thing. He was in the email chain. Anyway, why don't any of you talk about wet surface air coolers? And I said, can you provide me with one piece of evidence that somehow they are simultaneously turning on the wet surface air coolers to control the weather? Because I know you show a lot of videos and you show a lot of clouds forming really quickly. I have Alana Freeland's phone number. I've talked to Alana Freeland over 40 or 50 times on the phone at length. I'm mentioned in all 3 of Alana Freeland's books. So I know all these people. I talked to Dane Wigington on the phone twice. The second time didn't go so well. But regardless, that's because he copyright strike Max Bliss and got his channel deleted and wouldn't take the copyright strike back. And we got kind of ugly on the phone after that because I said, I thought we were all on the same team here, Dane. But regardless, Weather War 101 could not provide any evidence. He immediately started attacking me. He was attacking Dane Wigington. He was attacking everybody towards the end. He was just very frustrated. And I said, what you're showing in your videos is water vapor coming out of coal factories, along with the carbon black dust and the soot and all that stuff, which is cloud seeds. Nuclear power plants meets storm front. Storm front full of aluminum, from blowing off from erosion, mold, funguses, viruses. All of these things act as cloud seeds. These are facts, okay? So he's showing a storm front come in, and then right here, all of a sudden there's a whole lot of clouds. Well, guess what? The water vapor is on 24/7. It's not like they stop cooling a nuclear power plant. It's not like they turn the coal factory off. This is the argument I made to him. And I said, so if you can show me any kind of detailed anything where suddenly none of these nuclear power plants were putting any water into the sky, and then a storm front comes through, and then there's a whole bunch of clouds, what happened? What happened was a storm front came through with a whole bunch of cloud seeds and water vapor and the magic missing ingredient, the electromagnetic portion, the static electricity that makes the water stick to the seed, that makes the cloud, that makes the rain. So, I mean, it looked impressive. I said, like, dude, I mean, you're on this thing about wet surface air coolers, but these are NEXRAD radars. Doppler radars are not HAARP. They are not HAARP rings. And what you're talking about with coal factories and nuclear power plants cannot be proven as intentional because it is water vapor pollution. And if you don't believe me, I put it in my 10 technologies as number 10. And right there's a nuclear power plant on number 10, water vapor pollution. And I say specifically red numbers considered inadvertent, accidental, or pollution unless intentional. And the reason I say that is because unless you can prove that somebody intentionally released, Pyromania is saying it right there. He was convinced that the plants were coordinating release of water. And I stuck it to him. I said, look, man, I'm just a dude, and I want to believe you, but you've got to be able to show me something, anything, to prove that this is not just industry affecting weather. This is intentional. What I'm showing you on the screen right now, that is how you prove intentional. This is a military doctor from the U.S. Air Force Phillips Lab who, in a Freedom of Information Act request, the U.S. Air Force Phillips Lab said they wanted to use carbon black dust to do weather modification and create cirrus clouds. And here's Dr. Arnold Barnes saying, I want to intentionally increase cirrus cloud cover, and why. That's called fucking evidence. So if you want to know what happened to Weather War 101, he did not do his research. Do your research. This is research. This is evidence. This is how you prove your case beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that's why I'm bringing this up. Glad we got that out of our system. Woosah. Woosah with me. Inhale the good. Exhale the bad. Yeah. I mean, dude, yo, it's art. Shane really need to work together. I fully agree. I have done everything I can. Yeah, he's deleted his website. His videos are still on YouTube. After knowing a guy and talking to him so many times for 7 years straight, he refused to ever have a conversation with me. And that was my red flag. I said, now look, I've talked to everybody. Dutch Sense, Michael Murphy, Dane Wigington, Alana Freeland, the dude with the coal ash, the Dr. Marvin Herndon. He was in the email chain. All these people were watching me slay Weather War 101. And I wasn't trying to slay him. But I'm also not going to put up with your bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, don't claim bullshit and say you got fucking evidence because you show a storm running into a bunch of water vapor and then there's clouds. And for the uninitiated, it's impressive, it's scary, it's compelling. But to any scientist worth his salt or any lawyer, they're going to look at this and go, bro, you don't have evidence of shit. You have evidence that a storm front ran into a bunch of water vapor. That's it. So I'm just trying to be pragmatic. And I said, I want you to show me, make me believe, and I will help you in every way possible. That's what happened to Weather War 101. See the interesting shit we get into an hour and 14 minutes into this video. And Dr. Arnold Barnes summarizes with, and here's where I tie a bow and get back to HAARP, because all this is here for a reason. Major improvements in short-term forecasts by 2010. Bullshit. I picked up my phone yesterday. It said it was going to rain, 50% chance in the morning. Never happened. Then it went to a 50% chance by like 2 o'clock. Still didn't happen. And then they moved it back to 9 o'clock. They couldn't even get when it was going to rain that day. Right. And I constantly take a picture of what the weather forecast is for the week. And then I look at it a week later and see what actually happened. It's always wrong. They suck at forecasting the weather. So they cannot forecast climate change. They cannot forecast global warming. And part of the reason why is because everybody is screwing with the weather. Everybody's screwing with the weather. Intentionally screwing with the weather. And unintentionally, but more and more intentionally. So I want you to read this because this one sums it up. 14-day forecast by 2040. So everybody, we've got 18 years, and in 18 years, they may be able to possibly predict the weather 14 days in advance. Maybe. I don't know. Could happen. Highly doubt it. Current capabilities, targeted fog dispersal, local changes in precipitation. They can change the rain. They can get rid of fog. Cloud modification for surveillance coverage. Laser hole boring, doesn't say laser. They also can use dry ice. Hole boring in clouds. Create, suppress, cirrus contrails. You see it right there. Create or get rid of cirrus /contrails. Because when a contrail fans out and covers the sky, that is a cirrus cloud. Oh, by the way, ionospheric modification. Current capabilities, 1997. This was in 1997. This is a doctor from the Philips lab saying, currently, we can create and suppress cirrus contrails, which is cloud modification for surveillance and coverage, and we can modify the ionosphere. Dr. Arnold Barnes at the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory at Test Technology Symposium, which included the United States Air Force and the United States Army. That's what I call evidence. Even Mick West, who is the #1 debunker on the planet for chemtrails, when I sent him this, and I could even show you the tweet, because we were in a DM, and I was like, will you at least agree that this is evidence? And he's like, yes, that is. So if I can crack that guy, then I know that this is legit. I mean, this is real. And I stick to the real. I'm the mayor of Realville. Now, speculation-wise, Secretary of Defense William Cohen said on eco-terrorism with electromagnetic waves. Now, you may have seen this meme. I created this meme. Everybody's used it in every kind of video, everywhere, all the things. And I've actually made a couple different versions of this. Originally, I put just like, I think I put weather warfare on it. And then everybody used it. And I was like, damn, I should have put my tag on that. Like, that shit is everywhere. Because I went and I got, a quote is great, but to actually see the face of the person saying the quote, it's kind of priceless, it makes it real AF, like Nikki just said. Others are engaging in an eco type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. I mean, he's a Secretary of Defense. He wasn't just shooting the shit when he said this. I believe it was a Sam Nunn Policy Forum. Yeah. William Cohen keynote address at the Conference on Terrorism, Weapons of Mass Destruction, and U.S. Strategy, Sam Nunn Policy Forum, University of Georgia, 1997. Original transcript right there from way back machine on archive.defense.gov. Said it. Very real. Moving along. So now we're getting into the thick of the HAARP soup that the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program is operational. Finally, 1999, they built the damn thing. It's working. It's operating at a radiated power of 960 kilowatts. That's 1,000 watts. 960,000 watts. They finally got it built. What did it look like while they were doing that? This is it under construction. And this was built in 4 parts. The arrays are actually currently, I'm jumping ahead, but the current situation is that 3 of the 4 main array sections are operational. The 4th is not operational since the military sold it to Alaska. We're going to get to that in just a minute. And this is current, and this is what they planned by 2006. They wanted to go from 960,000 watts to 3.6 million watts, 3,600,000 watts. And with the effective radiated power, with a 75 to 83 dB decibel watt to 86 to 95 decibel watt, which would up that output to 5 billion watts, 5 damn gigawatts. 5 damn gigawatts. That's a lot of power. I wish I could pump the bass with that. And one of my most popular videos I ever made, Ionospheric heaters, how HAARP really works. Before I was completely effing censored and shadow banned off of YouTube, this thing happened. What the hell is going on? Look at this. The screen is black. Not even showing the title. Go away. 168,000 views. I am lucky if I break 1,000 to 2,000 views now. But this was back in, 2012, I believe, 2014? Yeah, 2014. This was at the height of they still weren't censoring everything on the internet and shadow banning everybody. So this video actually made it to 168,000 views. I have been censored AF ever since then. So that's part of the problem. But regardless, great video. Still to this day. A lot of people don't understand half the shit I said in that. Dark mode for the win. You're damn right. Dark mode, all the things, all the time. In fact, damn my desktop dark. All dark. All day. Air day. Dark, dark, dark. Anyway, if you don't rock the dark mode, I don't know what you're doing with your eyeballs, man. Bruh. So anyway, moving along. So it's operational 1999. Then in 2006, they did actually get it all the way up to full power. 3.6 million watts, 180 towers, 72 feet tall, 80 feet apart, each with 2 pairs of cross dipole antennas, 2.8 to 8.3 megahertz, and the other antenna is 7 to 10 megahertz. So cross dipole like that, Anyway. Oh yeah, Justin. Shh. Don't tell anybody. Leave that thing alone. Flat Earth firmament. Weather control is within a dome. You smooth brain. So smooth brain. So anyway, that that basically looks like this here. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go down here to HAARP. So most people don't know this, but this right here is called the HAARP Ionospheric Research Instrument. So these are the 72 foot tall, or where are we? 72 feet tall, 80 feet apart. Does that look, I mean, that gives you an idea of the scale of this. I mean, that's a big ass facility. And most people also don't know that in between all of that are wires. So there is actually like an entire wire net that covers the entire HAARP facility, the IRI. And down here, you can see the wires coming up, going to each location. There's wires that go across the actual top of the cross dipole. Wires everywhere. It's not just the antennas. You can't see the wires from space. But if you actually fly down there, which I attempted to do one time, I was too sick to actually get there, which is fucking crying shame because I really wanted to do it. But anyway, you do what you can when you can. If you can't, you just don't do it. Steering cyclones and thunderstorm powered solar powered satellite. There's a solar in there, as you can see. Solar powered satellite. Anyway. So Bernard Eastland, one of the guys who invented the idea behind HAARP and the artificial ionospheric mirror, what might happen to those wires during a Carrington event? Good question. Because we all know what happened to the wires during the last Carrington event. They caught on fire, and telegraphs were literally tapping on their own. I mean, can you freaking imagine that? Just like actually see what would happen today if we had a Carrington event? There would be nothing. All the things would be broken. Not to mention all of the nuclear power plants that wouldn't be able to turn their water pumps on to keep them cool, so there would be simultaneous nuclear detonation worldwide. It would be really bad. Yeah, the wires at Exmouth, that's a VLF facility down in Australia. I have it on the map. Same kind of deal. In fact, hell, I'll show them. Hey man, this is kind of turning out because I don't know if we're going to be able to get into my Sunday show and actually do some calls. So kids aren't here right now. That's why I'm doing it right now. Still haven't got my studio done outside. I've literally run out of funds. There have been no donations in the last 2 months. I take that back, one donation. And I've exhausted most of the funds that I've used to make my studio outside. So I still have to work around my family schedule to make videos. But we'll, I'll get it done eventually. And then I'll have the outside in the building behind my house, and everything will be kosher. But regardless, history and science, atmospheric sensors and all that stuff. And then I go to ELF, VLF, and then I go over here to Australia, and right here is Exmouth. And I come down here, and you talk about wires. Here's some damn wires. So this is what that looks like. Open a new window, and boom. There's antenna poles up, but there's wires that run between each one of them. This is similar to what happens, similar to what happens with the HAARP facility. There are wires running between all of the different towers. So that's the Exmouth facility in Australia, and you can see right here, Naval Communications Station, Harold E. Holt, the ANFRT-67, very low frequency transmitter and antenna, 2 million watts of beefy ass ELF or VLF transmission station, along with a picture of how tall those towers are that have all the wires around it, right there. So They've upgraded it to a Space Force. So go south of that. There's a dipole array. Really? How far south? We're not talking about around here because this is old satellite footage. This is Bing. And I don't, aha. No, that's a elephant cage. That's the old stuff. I know they're upgrading these older ones. There's one right there. That's a ionospheric. Guaranteed. Wonder if it's on my list. Doop doop doop. It's on. Shing. Shing. Ah, no, that's way further down. What we have here. There's the Digisond. Also, you got me on a hunt, man. Look at you, got me hunting. You know how much I love a damn map. Don't get me started. We gotta get through this video together, man. I'll link you to the report. Have I ever seen Red Lightning Bolt? Yes. Elves, sprites, things like that. Upward lightning. Yes. I've seen them. Anyway, moving back over here. We were about here. No, we were here. So Bernard Eastland talked about the Thunderstorm Solar Power Satellite. This was 2008 at the Weather Modification Convention. That happens at the American Meteorological Society. But he basically talked about, a couple different things. But generally speaking, that you have a solar-powered satellite that can beam microwaves into a storm and control it. But that's not all. And I have his original his presentation from there on my YouTube channel, Atmospheric Heating as a Research Tool. And this is the plasma pattern or the artificial ionospheric mirror. I've seen green flash as well. In fact, when I was in Omaha, Nebraska, there was a green flash that was so crazy. We were all on the porch, and this was like right at dawn too. And this green flash occurred, and we were all like, what the hell? And I think the green flash that I saw was because of a meteorite burning up, but it literally lit everything. Absolutely insane. And I won't bore you with going through all of this, but basically, he died before he was able to give this presentation. So he was on, he had already submitted it. He didn't get to go. And as a result, Lyle Jenkins, on behalf of the late Bernard J. Eastland, gave this speech at the Weather Modification Conference, and you can see the original references for all this stuff. It's right here. You just click it, go to it. Atmospheric Heating as a Research Tool, PDF, extended abstract, recorded presentation. This is where I downloaded it and put it up on YouTube so you can watch it for yourself. All the references that don't work, you can just put them down here at the bottom. And go to Wayback Machine, hit submit, and it'll take you to the archive.org and automatically bring that up and show you where it's been backed up and how long ago it was backed up. It was in 2008, so this is the original one. And you can come down here and see right here, July 8th, 2008, and you can click on that. And that's how you use the tool to find things that are deleted off the internet. Pretty good stuff. So anyway, by 2012, the United States military, HAARP, creates densest artificial plasma cloud. They actually created a plasma cloud for over an hour. And here's actually a photo of it here. And that's what HAARP actually does to the sky. It creates air glow. It is literally creating a plasma fireball in space by focusing its energy and doing that. MB for lunch. Hey man, I appreciate that, dude. Seriously, thank you. I really appreciate that. But then they gave it all away. And this is the question of the day. Why do you think they gave it all away? Why do you think HAARP military's like, don't need it anymore? We're done with it. We're grabbing our, we're grabbing our shit and we're leaving. And they put it into cold storage and decided what they were going to do with it. Well, let's just see. So, HAARP ionosphere heater sold to University of Alaska back online 2015. So the U.S. Air Force General Tom Mazziello shook hands with the University of Alaska Fairbanks, Brian Rogers, and Bob McCoy, transferring the powerful upper atmospheric research facility from the military to the university. But anyway, there's a lot of information on why and all that and how much they sold it for. But Chris Fallon took over as the director, and he came up with this whole, marketing campaign and was trying to, get it, back online. So he was selling things like this Area 49 plaque. They had Area 49 t-shirts. I wish I'd have got one. I've been harassing Chris. I have Chris Fallon's phone number. We've talked on the cell phone multiple times. Like I said, I had him go over my PowerPoint presentation to make sure that I was factually correct. He was like, "You did a better job on this than half my students," which was pretty awesome, validating. But regardless, this sucker is now owned by the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and it is rented out to scientists around the world. Here's a really good photo, very sharp photo of the wires coming off the HAARP antennas. And all of this stuff, constant upkeep. As he explained to me, this is from Chris Fallon on YouTube, where they have the Weak Signal Propagation Reporter Network, where he started kind of open sourcing what HAARP was doing to the public and getting the ham radio operators involved and saying, hey, we're going to be broadcast. He was literally on Twitter and he was on Twitter tweeting what HAARP was doing, when HAARP was doing it. And this, to me, as somebody who's been following this for damn near 10 years, was like, whoa, what's going on here? I mean, it was all military and secret, and then the UAF got it. The University of Alaska Fairbanks got control of it, and Chris Fallon was just tweeting out, hey man, we're going to make the air glow tonight. Project Harpoon, and all this stuff. So I thought it was actually very refreshing for somebody to be so forthcoming and honest about what was going on. Do I agree with it? No. He understood that I'm anti, weather modification, geoengineering, and space weather modification. I think it's a bad idea. I don't want them to perfect controlling the ionosphere. Nonetheless, if you're going to try it, at least be honest with us and have, transparency and verification. And this was what he was providing. Why did the military say they want to do it?
To all of you this morning. Very interesting. I wanted to ask a couple questions here about HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Several of you at the table have a little bit of a piece here. As you know, this is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facilities here. So questions to several of you this morning. I'm told by the president of the University of Alaska that the Air Force has pulled its support for the facility and they're taking steps to demolish it or take it down this summer. He's making the argument that that there is other opportunities for us, and is trying to find a path where the university might be able to take title to the facility. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Prabhakar. I understand that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HAARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HAARP does or why the agency is involved in it. So a very brief explanation, and then a more direct question. Would you be disappointed, or would you lose something if HAARP were to go away?
Senator Murkowski, as I think you know, one of our programs has been using the HAARP facility for the research that it's pursuing. And my understanding is that we did get value out of that interaction. The P in DARPA is projects, and we're not in the business of doing the same thing forever. And so very naturally, as we conclude that work, we're going to move on to other topics. So it's not an ongoing need for DARPA, despite the fact that we had actually gotten some good value out of that infrastructure in the past.
Understood. Then to Dr. Walker and Mr. Schaefer, then, Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility. I've mentioned that it's our understanding through the president of UAF that the plans are to move forward and demolish the facility this summer. So the question to you is that accurate? Can you explain why? And then perhaps to both you and Mr. Schaefer, is there any benefit in exploring a potential relationship with the University of Alaska to perhaps take over the HAARP?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HAARP in the past. We took over from the Navy and managed it, and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there, and have finished our work that we're interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HAARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it. And but that work has been completed. The Air Force has maintained the site for other government agencies to use for several years now. And with DARPA completing their project, that's our last government customer that we have in the site. We have put out a call government-wide for other agencies that had interest in managing the site or taking it over, and including going out to academia and seeing if there was any interest there. We have gotten interest from the university in Fairbanks. However, the interest we have is that they will run it if we fund it, which is unfortunately in this fiscal environment we're in right now, this is not an area that we have any need for in the future, and don't see that it would be good use of Air Force S&T funds in the future. So our position has been that if there's not somebody who wants to take over the management and the funding of the site, then the Air Force has no future need, and that we do plan to do a dismantle of the system in the future after we make appropriate notifications.
When you say in the future, do you anticipate that it would be this summer then, or would there perhaps be more time for the university to try to figure something out?
We would prefer to start this summer. We would like to get the critical equipment out of the site before the winter. The harsh winter in Alaska does lead to a very costly winterization to maintain the site, and we'd like to avoid that if we can.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer, if you have any comments on that?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm torn on this because my background is as an atmospheric scientist, and I think the facility is just a world-class facility. That said, we've worked very hard with the Air Force, with the Office of Science and Technology Policy over the last 18 to 24 months to find another sponsor for this, because it really, as you've heard the other people at the table, we, the department, have gotten the research value out that we need for the facility. We've also worked with University of Alaska Fairbanks to get some other person to pick up the long-term, just pure scientific research that HAARP offers the promise of. But with all the other issues and problems and challenges facing the department at this time, We just don't see that investment over a long-term period is where we would prioritize our investment. So we've been working with other agencies, trying to get agencies like National Science Foundation, Department of Commerce, who runs the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration, to pick up the HAARP facility. No one else wants to step up to the bill, ma'am.
So the point here, and I want to reiterate what he said, is
Just in managing the site, that's our last government work has been complete. Trying to do was to inject energy into the ionosphere up there, and have finished our work that we're interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which
they're moving on to other ways to manage the ionosphere. So that's really the key, that they have figured out. It was a test facility. They were testing new theories. They were testing how to manage to control the ionosphere. And the date of this hearing, I'm seeing in chat. You can actually go here.
which the HAARP was really.
This was March 26, 2014. Okay. And that's why I like to provide all the references. You just go to the gallery at the bottom of the page, and you can actually see HAARP again opens for business in 2015. They did actually open it back up. So you can I make these all as text links now because of the way search engines work. So you can actually just copy it and paste it in, or you can just hit go to, and that'll bring it up. And let's see if it's still there. It is still there. That's where I got this photo from. And this is on the UAF, University of Alaska Fairbanks Geophysics Institute website. HAARP opens for business. So just like the United States military did, they would rent it out to other government agencies. Now, the University of Alaska is renting it out to other scientists. Anybody that can pay the bill can use HAARP. It's still operational. When they, he was talking about winterization. They actually went and they shut down the facility. And at the HAARP facility, if you go in here to the HAARP facility, you can see that there's a lot involved. It's not just what everybody pictures with the antenna. Over here is where they actually generate the power in the main building. And if you click on that, and I'll move us over here, you can see that there are these huge diesel engines. These are what power the facility. Now, when I talked to Chris Fallon on the phone, I learned something interesting. Many of you probably have heard of Angels Don't Play This HAARP. If you've heard of it, let me know in chat. But it was a book written by Nick Begich, and there was also a film by the same name. Well, it turns out that film and that book was so famous that the people at the HAARP facility literally named these engines that run HAARP Angel 1 through 4. So they are the angels that play this HAARP. Little inside politics there. I found that fascinating. I actually spoke with Nick Begich directly, and when I told him this, he was grinning from ear to ear. Like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no. They literally named the engines that run HAARP Angels 1 through 4. Now, these are operated with diesel fuel, and don't quote me on this, but it's somewhere between like $100,000 to $500,000 per hour to run the antennas using these engines to generate the 3.6 million watts required to turn this thing on. So when they're renting it out, they're including that cost to whoever they rent it out. Now, government agencies, they literally poop money. So they didn't really have a problem. Yeah, Nick Begich is amazing. He's a trailblazer, and all credit where credit is due. But these engines, when I talked to Chris, I think he said 3 of the 5. I think there's either 5 or 6 engines in total. Only like 3 of them are even operational right now. So HAARP is not, to this day, is not operating at full power like it was when the military owned it. In addition to that, they had the HAARP induction-based magnetometer, which was also in this building. This is the VHF ionospheric radar. Over here is the modular UHF ionospheric radar. So there's a lot of different instruments at the site that most people don't know about. This is Diagnostic Instrument Pad 1. This is Pad 2, which has a whole bunch of stuff on it. And then the optics facility, which is up here, along with a ryometer. There's the ryometer, which you can see here. This is what it looks like. It's not very fancy. Old computers, oscilloscope. This is the optics facility, which actually has an all-sky camera and a laser beam. This is the VHF classic ryometer antenna, which you can see here. And, this is what the whole instrument pad looked like. A much sharper image than the satellite provides. All of this I programmed when I made these Google Earth maps. I program them like web pages. So when you click on any of these icons, you're going to read stuff, you're going to see stuff. A lot of these are very detailed. So the Digisond is in the woods right here. Why am I having a zooming issue now? They don't want me to zoom. Being stupid. But in the middle of the woods is the Digisond, and it looks like that. It's huge, absolutely huge. That's what an Ionospheric looks like. And this is for, actually listening to the signals they're using. And same thing here. It's a DPS for Digisond digital. And these are the aircraft alert radar. So these actually warn planes flying in the vicinity, get the hell out of the way. We're about to turn on the microwave O'Doom, and if you fly over this facility, you will probably fall out of the sky. So they even have, these radar systems to warn, and they're made by BAE Systems, of course, to warn planes, stay the hell out of the way. S-band aircraft alert radar, 60 kilowatts each. That's the HAARP facility, and it's now being rented out, not necessarily to the highest bidder, but it's being rented out nonetheless. And you can see all that information there, and plus, some other videos I did on the topic. I think this is HAARP Area 49, now creating artificial aurora, older video I made, but we'll move along. So then HAARP readies for busiest season since UAF acquired observatory in 2015. This is April 16th through the 14th, 2018. And you can see some of the things that were related to that. HAARP facility to resume ionospheric research this week. Some of the studies that were being done, HAARP readies for busiest sig, and then Chris Follins. This is Chris's actual Google site. I wonder if it's still there. It is. And this is Chris Follin on Twitter at CT Follin, Doctor of Timesheets, UAF, Geophysical Institute, Space Physics Group, HAARP Chief Scientist, UA Faculty Alliance Chair, UAF Faculty Senate President. And this is former, because he's not working there anymore. And I won't get into the politics of why he left there. Oh, there's our porn bots. Hello, porn bots. Good Lord. Again. Again, always, 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 always. Reported and believed. The YouTube porn bots have struck again. But I reached out to Chris because he was really putting it out there on the internet, and he was live on Twitter, tweeting when they were doing stuff. He had his own Google site saying, here's what we're doing. Here's when we're doing it. Here's why we're doing it, what experiments we're going to do, how you can get involved. And by the way, they were awarded by the National Science Foundation, just like they talked about in the hearing you heard. So the National Science Foundation basically showed up to help foot the bill to get the site running again for the University of Alaska Fairbanks because science. And as a result, they're able to continue doing their work and, all that sort of stuff. So this brings us to, what the gentleman said in the video. We've moved on to other ways to manage the ionosphere, and people still aren't familiar with this. But back in 2014, when that after that conference occurred, I looked into that question. What could he mean by other ways to control the ionosphere? And that's because in a strategic setting, it's very easy to destroy the HAARP facility. Other governments know where it is. It's not like it can pick up and move and go somewhere else. Blowing it up would be very easy. So, wouldn't it be smarter to have a mobile ionospheric heater? Something you could move around? That's what they did. So I wrote this book, this article, HAARP on a Boat, Ionospheric Heaters Go Mobile. And in it, we talk about trucks and trailers. Air Force aims for weather control. And they talk about something called Mirage, or the Microwave Ionosphere Reconfiguration Ground-Based Emitter, or Mirage. And they had this little drawing of a box that's a HAARP. Mirage. Satellite ionospheric heaters. These are also called topside sounders as mobile ionospheric heaters. Don't believe me? Right there on the NASA website. There's evidence that satellite-borne radio frequency sounders can act as mobile ionospheric heaters in addition to performing topside sounding. What do they mean by topside sounding? The same thing. Fuck off, porn butts. Goodbye. Get out. Shaboom. That the ionosines, the digisign that I showed you, that's a sounding radar, a sounding radio transmitter. So the same thing, having topside sounders, but they could double as a mobile ionospheric heater, as they say right here. Can act as a mobile ionospheric heater in addition to performing topside sounding. Went the wrong way. So now we're talking about ionospheric heaters behind Jeeps being pulled by Humvees, ionospheric heaters on satellites. What else you got? How about boats, submarines, planes, and drilling rigs? They had a thing called Project Lucy. The transmitters can be mounted on submarines, planes, and after 2015 on boats and drilling rigs when the Arctic ice cap has melted. A major fail there, but this came from the Arctic Methane Emergency Group. Project Lucy therefore aims to design, build, and test a microwave transmission system for targeting low-altitude methane clouds and turning them into diamond dust. So that's a thing. And they went on to talk about generating sunshine reflecting noctilucent clouds in increasing amounts in the mesosphere, which will reflect the sun's energy back to space. What the hell are they talking about there? These are noctilucent clouds. They're iridescent blue clouds. They're about 53 miles up, and that methane escaping out of the Arctic could be hit with HAARP beams and then turned into diamond dust, which would make diamond clouds in the sky. Can't make this stuff up. Noctilucent clouds formed from the breakdown of methane in a circular zone above the HAARP transmitter. 4 other similar facilities in the world: High Pass, which is closed, been demolished. It was up in Alaska. Arecibo, we've talked about it multiple times. ISCAT, Norway, that's the Tromsø array, and Sura, Russia. They also go on to talk about Jicamarca, Peru, which was the other one I showed you earlier. But it was Project Lucy radio and laser atmospheric methane cloud detection, energization, and methane destruction. And they talked about doing what the Ghostbusters said don't ever do. Do not cross the streams. And what they said was, if we took 3 ionospheric heaters and we crossed those beams, that a 13, and it's right here, a 13.56 megahertz radio transmission beam could crush that methane molecule into a diamond. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Truth is always scarier than fiction. Which now brings us finally to our friend Dennis Papadopoulos, who I've mentioned multiple times. And he said he's the reason why DARPA said, hey, we don't need HAARP anymore, because we've moved on to managing other ways of managing it. Dennis Papadopoulos, University of Maryland. Extremely low frequency produced by HAARP with no electrojet, a major breakthrough based on discoveries in recent HAARP campaigns under the Muri Office of Naval Research and Brioche DARPA programs. As they said, DARPA has said, we're done. We figured out what we need to figure out. We've moved on to other ways to do this. The Office of Naval Research said, we don't want it anymore. The Air Force said, we don't want it anymore. We'll sell it to somebody else. We got a better way to do this. Lieutenant Adam Baum, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. That was the actual Project Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Was the article that I put out on that topic specifically. I did a very lengthy breakdown of what was going on there. And basically what he was saying was that we could make a mobile high frequency transmitter on a boat to inject radio frequency to create ELF, extremely low frequency, which would create magnetosonic extreme low frequency, magnetosonic waves, shear Alvin waves. We're not going to get too deep into all this. I've covered all this multiple times in previous videos, trying to give you the big picture from all the way in the past to the future. We're 2 hours into this thing. I'm summarizing now. This is the future. This is why it's almost impossible to find out any information on what's going on today, because it's mobile. It's going to be on a vehicle It's going to be on a boat, and it's going to be floating. So how are you going to track it down? And they did this because there was two different types of heating: polar electrojet heating versus ionospheric current drive. Towards the end, when Dennis Papadopoulos and company figured out they could do ionospheric current drive, that meant they no longer needed to be in Alaska near the magnetic field lines in order to heat the polar electrojet. They could do this anywhere in the world. So, as they say right here, a new paradigm in sources of physics and high-powered ionospheric modification. The ionosphere controls the performance of critical Department of Defense and civilian systems, communications range, radar, navigation, geolocation, GPS, accuracy, DoD civilian active research, using traditional ionospheric heaters provided new capabilities and applications that allow control exploitation of triggered processes, virtual antennas in space, artificial clouds like noctilucent clouds, irregularity control because the ionosphere is unpredictable. They want predictability for military operations. The low power of traditional heaters resulted in large arrays and active elements with complex and costly controls leading to fixed installations, like the HAARP facility. Fixed locations are associated with fixed magnetic geometry, limiting the scope of the research investment. So because HAARP was in a specific place to pluck that string of the HAARP, to pluck that magnetic field line, that's why it is at that high latitude near the polar electrojet, near where the magnetic field lines of the Earth meet the ground. It is in line with that. So they figured out how to do it without that. And suddenly, the artificial ionospheric mirror became smaller, just like the cell phone, just like the computers. Everything comes smaller. Now they have what's called a field-aligned scattering super small scale cloud for gigahertz ground-to-ground channel. At the equator or mid-latitude. So that they can do this at the equator. They can create a virtual antenna in the sky at the equator. Artificial plasma layers, mid-latitude, CME detection, coronal mass ejection detection, Carrington events, solar flares, mid-latitude, substorm effects, polar. So the only thing left for polar, like in HAARP in Alaska or, South Pole, substorm effects. Everything else they can do along the equator or in mid latitudes. And they summed this up pretty well, with this other slide. This is back when I was on resonated.com. Don't look it up. It's not there anymore. Lieutenant Adam Baum, I really appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you very much, brother. And this shows how the artificial ionospheric mirror works. And this is from U.S. patent 5,041,834. Artificial ionospheric mirror up here. I actually labeled everything because it was just a drawing. Transmitter, receiver. Transmitter bounces signal off of the ionospheric mirror. So this is the purpose of creating one. In addition to tracking radars, not only reflecting their signal off the ionosphere because it bounces off of it, but being able to bounce it off the artificial ionospheric mirror to track planes, like military planes. So these are the military applications of using a high frequency active auroral research program or a ionospheric heater or a mobile ionospheric heater. And that's exactly what they said they're going to do. Examples of investigation using the super small size, few centimeters. Used to artificial ionospheric mirror, very large. Now they've got it shrunk down to just a few centimeters, and they could actually hit those, as they put them, field aligned scattering mirrors, not artificial ionospheric mirror, field aligned scattering mirrors at super small size. This is the future. This is the future. And what does this have to do with boats? Directly from Dennis Papadopoulos, the straw man high frequency array. Interesting choice of words, I must admit. Bruh, they called it the straw man. You can't make this up. So combination of low high frequency power and high frequency require high HF frequency, high frequency. Bro, that's just bad typing there. I mean, seriously. Requirements allow for mobile option. High frequency, HF frequency, 8 to 10 megahertz. What was HAARP? 2.8 to 10 megahertz. Still in the same range, still the same idea, except they can do it at the equator. Don't believe me. ELF mobile array performance. And then what do they show? They show right here. Open link in new chat. What is this? Okay, so let's just open the image in a new tab. How about that? As you can see here, optimal area for mobile array along magnetic equator. This is where they would put a mobile ionospheric heater. And as you can see here, that's near Christchurch, right off the coast of China and New Zealand and Malaysia and all of that. Great place to put optimal region for extremely low frequency array. So if you're looking for a boat with an ionospheric heater on it, this is where Dennis Papadopoulos says would be a great place to put one. And that really brings us to the end. That all of these things, there's a lot of speculation as to why. I think we've answered why. The reason why the military sold HAARP to the University of Alaska Fairbanks is they stopped getting bidders from other government organizations. They had already concluded their research and determined, hey, we don't have to be here in freezing ass Alaska. We could be chilling on a boat at the equator because we don't need to do polar electrojet heating anymore. We've come up with a better way called ionospheric current drive. And this can be done anywhere in the world. It doesn't require magnetic field lines. It doesn't require a polar electrojet. We can do it a different way. I went into this video how HAARP really works, and I really go into the great details of polar electrojet versus ionospheric current drive. Watch that video. It's in my most popular videos. It's got 168,000 views. It was before I was shadow banned. That shit'll never happen again. But regardless, they've moved on to better ways to manage the ionosphere because they've come up now with this new technology, ionospheric current drive. They can put it on a boat. They could put it on a plane. They could put it on an oil rig. Some of you thinking about the C-band, sea-based X-band radar, SBX, floating oil rig with X-band radar on it. Something similar to that with an array of antennas on top of it. I'm not saying specifically that the SBX is an ionospheric heater. I'm also saying it isn't. That I'm also not saying it isn't. But the idea that they now can put them anywhere in the world and they can float them, they can park them, they can pull it behind a Humvee, they can put it on a drone. Yes. Everything gets smaller. As technology improves, they refine it. They no longer need it. Hey, we invested a lot of money in this. costs a lot of money to run it. We can do this a hell of a lot better. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done a 2-hour video, but I really wanted to get all of this into one video because I've gotten so many emails about this topic. And that's the purpose of weathermodificationhistory.com. That's the purpose of my research that I've still got my articles up on climateviewer.com that go back, to 2010. So back to where we started. If you come to climateviewer.com/HAARP and you're going to show up here, what you're going to see is that this was originally published in 2012, this paper, this whole page, and it was last updated 2018. But if you scroll down past the frequently asked questions and you see my PowerPoint presentation on HAARP in the Sky, Heaters Explained, chemtrails from space, sounding rockets, satellite chemical releases, and ionospheric heaters, the map that you just looked at is all on climateviewer.com/HAARP. But what's more important is you keep scrolling. Every article I've ever done on the topic of electromagnetic weather modification and or ionospheric heating is here. Chernobyl, CIA sabotage, weather modification, and the Russian woodpecker. HAARP on ice, potential shutdown looms. 5 types of real chemtrails, just the facts. Project Azure sounding rockets, chemtrails from space, and all of the microwaves that are getting in on Project Azure. China's mind-blowing weather modification, geoengineering, and ELF transmitter projects. Yes, China's creating the world's largest, most powerful ionospheric heater in this article. And the list goes on. Did HAARP create over 1,000 earthquakes in Alaska? Arecibo's ionospheric heater boiling the tropical sky. November 3rd through 9th, 2018. Chris Fallon, director of HAARP, has actually started doing some work at the Arecibo array. And that's all I'm going to say about that. NEXRAD weather control and accidental geoengineering, kind of on that Weather War 101 thing we went through earlier. And the list goes on and on. Climate Control Global Trading LLC creates and steers hurricanes with ionospheric modification and cloud ionization. And this is Bob McCoy, the guy who actually took over HAARP. HAARP director lies about ELF waves at Open House 2018. And of course, I thought that was funny, so I put him on blast. Geoengineering with diamond dust and HAARP knocked loose in cloud formation rising. The list goes on and on and on. Trump Space Force and owning the weather in 2025. Me and Dominic talking about artificial gravity waves created by HAARP. I mean, twisted tree mystery and electromagnetic warfare in the Olympic National Forest attributed to a ionospheric heater on the back of a Jeep being pulled. You cannot make this up. So go through these. Tons and tons. Did HAARP destroy North Korea's nuclear power program? HAARP bakes Alaskan sky tomorrow night. Back online, 2018. And I actually interviewed the U.S. Naval Research Lab at the 21st Conference on Planned and Inadvertent Weather Modification about HAARP. And the lady literally said, we don't talk about HAARP anymore, which was absolutely priceless. So dig into that. ClimateViewer.com/HAARP. All things HAARP related. Thousands and thousands of hours worth of articles and details on this that you can dig into, in addition to coming to weather modification history and going to the actual section on ionospheric heating. You can find this simply by going to timeline. When you click on the timeline, come over here, and instead of hitting geoengineering, weather modification, click space weather modification. And if you want to get even deeper, you can hit hide tags. You can hit the show tags thing here. Click ionospheric heater, and boom, it's going to take everything out, and it's just going to leave that. So I hope that you guys will dig into the info. All the info that's here, it's well referenced. You're not going to find it anywhere else. If you share it on Fedbook or Twitter or any of the other major social media, it probably will be censored. I've almost given up on even sharing, my videos at all. It seems like if I share it before you guys share it, they know, and then they immediately go into the shutdown mode of making sure that it can't be re-seen. And an example of this, I did a video, it was actually pretty popular. And I went and I looked, but there were so few shares. And somebody had shared it from ClimateViewer on Facebook. And I saw it on their wall. It had 0 likes, 0 comments. I said, damn, that's kind of weird. Because, I mean, the post before it and the post after it had 30, 50 likes or whatever in comments. What's up with this? So I logged out. I got on my VPN, my ExpressVPN. I logged back in with my fake account on Facebook. And then I went to that individual's wall where they had shared it. The post was public. There was no post there. I went and I logged back into my account. I went back to their wall, and there was the post again. So as far as being shadow banned, I could see the post because they shared it from me. The person who shared it could see the post because Facebook wants you to think that you're actually doing shit out there. But if you were not me or the person that shared it, that post did not exist because I verified it on a VPN with my Mac spoofed with a fake Facebook account, and there was no post there. So despite all of that, I really appreciate all of you, especially those who've listened to me drone on about HAARP for the last 2 hours and 22 minutes and 22 seconds. I really appreciate it because, never doubt that a small group of individuals can change the world. In fact, they're the only thing that ever has. And you are that small group of individuals who are dedicated to the truth. Not just being entertained, not just being scared. You're not addicted to fear porn. You really want to know the truth. And that's where I want to live. I want to live in Realville. So I hope that you guys do too. And I hope that you guys will bring more people to move in Realville. And let's push the truth out there. So thank you so much for watching. Please gently smush the like button. YouTube already hates me enough as it is. Thorn in their side. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I missed. Tell me what I should add. If there's new news, send it to me. If you don't send it to me, don't send it to me on social media because I generally don't look at it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been checking my Twitter more often lately, but for the most part, I check my email, jim@climateviewer.com. If you want to get in touch with me, if you want to send me something, jim@climateviewer.com. My email is available on connect.climateviewer.com along with my BitChute, my Rumble, my Odyssey. Mirrors of this video will immediately be copied over. I don't have to do a thing. You can support me monthly with a donation on PayPal, on Patreon, or a one-time donation on PayPal. Any donations right now are going directly into building a studio outside my house so that I can go on and make as many videos or videos as long as I damn well feel like. Take your phone calls, have long conversations. That's the kind of stuff that I want to do. So check me out over there. The Discord obviously is gone. I will be making a new chat in the future because Discord banned me for talking about former Vice President Brandon and the other C word we're not going to mention because they banned me. YouTube banned me for a week for making the video about airplanes and mandates and Brandon. And Discord permanently banned me and deleted my chat. So it's always going to be a struggle, and I have thick skin. We will get through this together, and I will continue on. And as I said, I am working in the background while simultaneously trying to build a studio, rebuilding. Pretty much that's what it would be. Rebuilding ClimateViewer.com completely. And the problem with that is there's well over 40,000 reference links on there. I do have a date with Frank. I believe it's the 8th. Don't hold me to that, but very soon I will be back on Quite Frankly. For everybody who has not heard of Quite Frankly, go subscribe to Quite Frankly. It's quitefrankly.tv. Go to his YouTube, go to his all of his things. Foxhole, what's the other one? The yellow one. Anyway, Gilded is I saw the Quartering is another YouTube channel I watch. He uses Gilded. So does Frank. He uses Gilded. So I'm probably gonna make a Gilded server. Apparently you have a little more free speech over there than on Discord. So I will be working on that. And when I do, I'll update all the links. The first place you're gonna find it is right here, because the idea of this page is to basically link to all of my things in one spot. So it's like a link tree. That way you can do it. But that being said, I really appreciate you all. Man, this was a marathon. D-Live, that's the other one. I was going to start streaming live to Facebook and D-Live and all that again, but then Streamlabs won't let me put the little preview image in like I had here, won't let me do all that, and everything gets automatically mirrored, and I don't want that getting all screwed up. So, and just for the road, here come the porn bots. YouTube, YouTube piss off. I mean, really, you guys suck at everything you do lately. So there's that. Anyway, so thank you all for tuning in and watching this long video. Thank you to everybody who supported me. I am going to thank all of my patrons in my next video. It has been on my to-do list forever. I keep going, damn it, Jim, you said you were going to do it. Thinking about Telegram. I am on Telegram. I haven't ever made a group on there. I don't know how that would work. But everything I got to do my research on before I actually get into it. So that being said, I just put out a lot of information in this 2-hour video, and the information is powerful, and with power comes great responsibility. So please use the information that I provided you to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it. Stay safe out there, and share the damn video, please. Sharing is caring. Have a great day. If the video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.